I'd like to thank the Classical Association of Canada for asking me to be part of this video series, and I'm excited to talk to you all a bit about how I do classics. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Carolyn Willekes. I'm an assistant professor at Mount Royal University in Calgary, Alberta, and I'm here with Mercury, who is indeed a bit of a trickster, to talk to you a little bit about my life, my experiences, I suppose, in classics, and some of the things that I've been able to do while studying classics, and some pretty neat adventures that I've been on. So I received my PhD from the University of Calgary in 2013 in Greek and Roman Studies, and my graduate work was all on ancient horses, hence why Mercury is here. So my research revolves around horses, and as you'll see in the little video that I've put together, it's allowed me to, one, combine kind of two defining parts of my identity and two passions in my life. My love of horses. I definitely suffer from hippomania, as Aristophanes would put it, but also my love of classics and, well, ancient history in general. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that I've been able to do, combining my love of horses and my love of classics, and some of the unexpected journeys that it has taken me on. Both my undergraduate degree from the University of Guelph, so I studied classics at the University of Guelph, as well as my graduate work at the University of Calgary, so I did both my master's and my PhD at the University of Calgary in the Department of Greek and Roman Studies. All of these degrees gave me a pretty fundamental set of tools for exploring classics and the classical world. So kind of the standard approach to studying and learning classics, there was the language component, the philology, so I did my Latin and my Greek and my modern languages. And I will say, if you're anxious about the language side of things, I get it. I am by no means a natural linguist. The languages don't come easy to me, but they're doable. And I worked my way through, and I certainly grew to enjoy them. And, you know, the textual side, whether you're reading the text in the original language or you're reading the text in translation, they can give some really interesting insights into sort of ancient culture and sort of the context of the ancient world. So I had the philology side. History was something that has fascinated me for a long time. So looking at the historical context of the classical world, I do a lot with military history, but I'm also really interested in becoming more interested in the sort of the social history side of things as well. Not only, you know, within the sort of the space of the ancient world, but also in terms of how classical history is understood and interpreted and used in different periods all the way up to the 21st century, because there are some really interesting things to explore there. And then the material culture side of things, so the sort of art and archaeology component of classics. I have worked on excavations in Greece and Turkey, and the material culture side, especially the visual component, has come to play an increasingly important role in my own work. But ultimately, when I transitioned from my undergraduate into graduate school and have since continued on into my sort of post-PhD academic career, all three of these things, so the language and literature, the language and the textual tradition, the history and historical events, as well as the interpretation of historical events, as well as the material visual culture, have kind of come together, coalesced to serve as a fundamental foundation of the work I do. Horses have been an important part of my life for, 30-ish years now, and they certainly were a key part of my identity when I started my classics journey back at Guelph, but I didn't realize that I could combine the two, or at least it wasn't particularly obvious I could combine the two until I started grad school and had a light bulb moment thanks to my graduate supervisor, Dr. Waldemar Heckel, who said, "Why don't you study Greek cavalry? Why don't you study Macedonian cavalry? You know something about horses, and you might be able to bring something different to the table in terms of how we approach this topic." And he was right. As soon as I was willing to sort of take the leap and find the link between the two things that I enjoyed so much, horses and classics, I was able to carve out and find a really unique approach to studying the classical world. what I realized is that I could take my foundation in understanding the classical world, so the textual, linguistic, historical, visual, sort of material culture side of things, and combine that together with my knowledge of the horse as a living, breathing animal, my years of experience riding horses, training horses, spending time with horses, and I discovered the sort of discipline or the branch of experimental archaeology, literally getting on a horse with bows and spears and javelins and swords, riding bareback or in historical saddles like a Roman saddle, in armor to figure out how things worked, and how it was possible to do all of the things that we were able to do with this animal. So this hands-on component of my research and my methodologies, so basically taking my existing practical knowledge of horses and horse behavior and riding and mashing that together with the fragments and the bits of evidence for horses and training and riding that we have from the classical world, has allowed me to build a more cohesive picture of what the horse actually was to the classical world, not just within the context of, say, Greece and Rome, but also sort of the broader sort of ancient Eurasian world. So I don't just look at Greece or just at Rome. I look at different cultural contexts through North Africa and the Near East and Central Asia and parts of Northern Europe to really figure out how the horse fits into this picture. We know that they were expensive, that they were a status symbol, they were by and large prerogatives of the elite, especially in more urban areas. But what was the horse-human relationship? How was the horse viewed? How did horses and humans interact? And here is where the textual tradition and the visual culture kind of, goes hand in hand with my own understanding of horses. It's really easy to look at, in this case, images of horses in Greek art and say, well, why are the horses so small? Why are they sitting in a chair seat or a donkey seat? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Because it looks different from the way we do it today. But through experimental archaeology and sort of hands-on practical knowledge, I'm able to figure out why they did things this way. So instead of automatically saying that something is wrong just because it's different from how we do it in the 21st century, I try and figure out why do they do it this way. Yes, the horses were actually this small. Yes, you could train a horse to attack infantry. Yes, the horse, through some random, well, not a random way, there was a very systematic way of doing it. The horse, which is a prey animal, was actually pretty useful on the battlefield. And even like the kylix, the third image on this slide, the quote-unquote Poseidon's stable. Yes, there are little, erote figures dancing around on the horses and shooting bows, but there are some interesting hints and signals about the relationship between horses and humans and sort of the tactile, tangible connection between them in this image once you know what to start looking for. And that's where the practical experience becomes so very important. And finally, I think the coolest and really most unexpected, I don't know why unexpected, but it was at first unexpected, aspect to my approach to studying classics and the route and specialty that I have chosen to follow is the places it's taken me and the absolutely incredible adventures I've had. I know that sounds really quite cheesy, but my topic and my hands-on approach to this topic has taken me all over the world on horseback. I've ridden in Greece, Turkey, Mongolia, Kyrgyzstan, of course in my own backyard here in Alberta, and I've also had the opportunity to work with some really neat horse breeds and horse types in Tunisia as well. So it's not just the arms and armor and figuring out war horses and stuff like that, but also the horse cultures and individual horses that I've had the wonderful opportunity of getting to know all over the world has been a phenomenal part of my relationship with classics, and one that I certainly never anticipated when I first started out in this field as an undergraduate student at Guelph all those years ago. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with me. My email is on the bottom of this slide.